of the Zammit brothers. This car has the ability to run 4 or 5 tenths under the national record, but at previous occasions recently, Victor Bray's really had the advantage and been able to defeat the Zammit. Can this happen again?
The twin-turbo Nissan Genuine Parts 300ZX machine. One of the nicest pieces in national drag racing, up against the tomato farmer Victor Bray. Apart from Jim Reed, probably the most popular man in national drag racing. Zammit obviously got a fairly decent handicap start there. Can Bray run him down as they work their way towards the top end? Bray at 7.017.
Moving now to top door slammer and the hot cargo Falcon utility of Alan Fountain from Sydney. And he's up against Darryl Woods in the supercharged Ford Capri named the Bear. This is top door slammer, puts all of the supercharged cars together. This is a non-championship eliminator, but it's something that's been added to the Winternationals, obviously with the public in mind, a very, very popular racing group.
Yes, obviously these cars can also meet the relevant criteria to take part in Wild Bunch competition. I must admit I'm not a huge fan of the fact that they've changed their identity this weekend. I think it's confusing for the public, but obviously that is the promoter's choice, and I have to respect that. But nonetheless, they are very popular, as Kevin said, and Alan Fountain in the hot cargo Ute really knows how to do the business.
Yes, Alan's been very, very consistent. Normally he would run Wild Bunch or Super Stock Eliminator. This is the top door slammer is essentially a derivative of that. So some great racing. Alan Fountain leads behind the Capri on a handicap start. He'll really look to chase him down over the top end and takes the win with a 763 at 179 mile an hour.
And now we move along to the Top Fuel semi-final, number 1. It's Jim Reed, 10 times national champion, the doyen of Australian drag strips, possibly on a solo pass.
Yes, that is correct. There's 3 cars left on the field. Jim Reed, the number 1 qualifier, gets this solo into the final. They ran a great 5:31 in the first round, so they'll be looking to improve on this. The air has got a lot colder. The track conditions are still good, so we would expect an increase in performance from the 5:30 that was in the first round.
Yes, indeed, we should remind our viewers at this point in time that this weekend's Winternationals Classic also comprises the 7th round of the Winfield Australian Top Fuel Series. Jim Reed on screen there, signalling to Bruce Reed, his eldest son, that he's happy with proceedings. And we're not now far away from the start of Jim Reed's solo pass in the semi-finals here. 5.26 is the national record. Jim Reed would absolutely love to go under that as he now edges forward in the Winfield Top Fuel dragster. Keep your eyes on the light tree center of the screen. Look at the nitro flames. Away Reed blasts, and look at that man go, will you? All the experience in the world and got the business done. A 5.26. He's equaled the national record, and look at the adulation and the jubilation of the crew. Fantastic stuff.
Semi-final times here at round 7 of the Winfield Australian Top Fuel Series, and once again Robin Kirby from Victoria is in the semis. But Robin's got a bonus this time. Graham Cowan, his opponent, is out of racing, so Robin gets a solo. Robin, that's a good break for you.
Yes, well, after the last round at Eastern Creek, we had a pretty abysmal time there. Broke the rear end in the car and then worked till 4 in the morning to repair it, only to have the transmission let go on the first run of the day, which put us out of competition. But we had a run here yesterday. The car ran 6.1, dropped a couple of cylinders, burned a piston, and then's come out here tonight in the first round and run 6.05 and hasn't hurt any parts, so we're pretty happy with it.
Okay, semi-finals is automatic, and then Jim Reed in the final.
Yeah, well, I guess the old master is going to be pretty hard to toss, but never know until the wind light comes on at the other end who's going to take the trophy.
Yes, you've certainly been in this circumstance many times over the last 12 months, and you really have come out a winner on quite a few.
Well, I guess, you know, we're obviously not the fastest car, but you don't get to the 3rd position on the point series by turning up here and there and running pretty ordinary.
Well, congratulations on the performance so far this weekend. We look to talking to you after the final.
Well, we'd like to take the trophy home. We'll see how we go.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you.
The very likeable Victorian Robin Kirby is in fact on an automatic win here as he lines up beside Keith Aegis in the 2nd Top Fuel semi-final. Sadly, Kevin Prendergast, 2nd top qualifier Graham Cowan, unable to make it back.
Yes, unfortunately, that very good pass damaged the clutch mechanism beyond repair today. So Rob Kirby takes an automatic win, but obviously to make it interesting for the crowd and, of course, the viewers, we've been able to put together the matchup with Keith Aegis.
Aegis does seem to have a problem, Kevin, and there's a fair bit of concern around his Oz Nitro top fuel dragster at the moment, and it's looking very much as though Robin Kirby is going to be participating on his own here.
Yes, this run will put Kirby into the final, and once again, Kirby's consistent performance has made it to the final of a major meeting.
Yes, that means that Kirby will face Jim Reed in the final, and that's not the first time we've seen that in top fuel racing in this country, and certainly won't be the last. So Robin Kirby, all now in readiness, green light on. He got away fairly quickly, obviously shuts the car down, and he will just stroll through at a rather leisurely pace.
Semi-final time for top alcohol. Alan Dobson, a 6:01 in the first round. Is the 5-second on?
Certainly is. Our crew chief, Greg Gower, he certainly wound the wick right up then. We had plenty of horsepower on board the last time, and I'd say this time's a real good chance of doing it, yeah.
It's been cold and clear. The track's obviously cooling down. Obviously, it may be a bit slippery in the middle.
Yeah, true too. Just belongs the traffic keeps rolling out there and the racing keeps going. The track temperature should stay with us. So hopefully it'll be okay and we'll be able to get down without kissing the wall or doing anything naughty.
Any surprises in the car for this round?
Yeah, Greg's turned the wick up a bit more, as I say. He's screwed a bit more horsepower into it, and he's just said then, better hang on.
Alan Dobson sounding supremely confident about his chances in the Castrol Funny car of becoming the first top alcohol car to run into the elusive 5-second barrier. Steve Harker, though, is formidable opposition, Kevin.
Yes, Steve certainly is. He currently leads the Australian Top Alcohol Championship point score, but there's no doubt that the Dobson-Gower combination has been the car with the most horsepower in top alcohol this year. It's run a 6:01. It's repeated that again today, 235 mile an hour. They've certainly got the horsepower in the engine. All they've got to do is get the combination right with the clutch and get it down the track.
Wherever you're watching right around Australia, welcome to our telecast of the 1993 Winfield Snap-on Tools Winternationals. You may be about to see history in Australian drag racing. That man on screen, Alan Dobson, all the way from Western Australia, against the banana bender, Steve Harker, who puts a lot of time and money into the sport of top alcohol drag racing. They line up side by side in staging. Keep your eyes on the Castrol Funny car of Alan Dobson. He might just do it here. He'll need brilliant reaction time, and he's very capable of that. Horsepower unleashed, green lights on simultaneously. A sensational run by the Castrol car, blasting across the bitumen here. A 5.904, they've done it.
Owner of the Castrol Funny car, Greg Gower. Greg, Australian history, the first ever car in Australia to run a 5-second time.
Yeah, obviously very excited, Kevin. We're absolutely wrapped. Didn't only run a 5.90, ran a 5.90. So that's great, unbelievable. Yeah.
Well, you're certainly going to go down in history. Now it's final times. Can we repeat the performance and win?
We certainly hope so, Kevin. We're a bit worried about the track, that the dew won't come in, but if the track's there, we think we can run faster, as fast or faster, sure.
Well, a 5.90, Australian history-making time. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Great.
A truly remarkable performance by the Castrol Funny car team, comprising Greg Gower, Alan Dobson and the entire crew. And the atmosphere here at Willowbank is really starting to build. Anticipation in the air, the times are tumbling. The second semi-final now in top alcohol, and a great matchup. The Englishman Steve Reed, that's him on screen, and in many respects his opponent is the man that a lot of people believe would be the first to drive into 5 seconds. I refer to the other Steve Reed from Queensland.
Yes, you're right, David. Both of these competitors have been on the money. Brisbane Steve Reed in the funny car really has been the leading in performance for top alcohol for a couple of years, and he ran 6:02 6 months ago. Everyone expected that he would be the first into the fives, but as we've just seen, it's not the case. This will be one really, really close race. Whoever wins this goes to the final against Alan Dobson, and frankly, I'm not the one to pick the winner at this point.
Rev's now building dragster against funny car. Green lights on now. The Drags have got a great start. Here comes the funny car, though. They're side by side towards the top end. Steve Reed in the funny car, a 6:06.7, a great run.
We've got Jim Reed with me. Jim, you've just run the fastest ever alcohol time in Australia. You missed out with a 5-second pass, but 236 mile an hour. Brilliant.
Thanks, Kevin. We've just worked our behind off in the pits. We just had a lot of problems after the last round, and it made us feel a little bit better anyway.
Well, congratulations. You've had a hell of a year, and that's a great way to stop it.
Thanks very much, Kevin.
As we now advance to semi-finals for top bikes, Kevin Prendergast previously speaking with one of the nice guys, one of the elder statesmen in drag racing, Jim Reed. Well, what more can be said about these guys? The handlebar heroes on the top bikes. That man is Scott Commons, and his opponent will be Jay Upton, Kevin.
Yes, the top bikes, the nitro-burning equivalent of a top fuel dragster for motorcycles. Jay Upton on the Yamaha traditional Japanese engine up against the American Harley-Davidson driven by Scott Cummins.
Should be an interesting matchup. You can't tell me for one moment they look comfortable on these machines. Boy, oh boy, they can accelerate. Upton in the Castrol GP50 lane, right-hand side of your screen, green lights on now. Great reaction time by Commons, in fact, who's now starting to move forward, but Upton really starting to tear away towards the top end, and you'll find there that Upton, with more miles per hour, takes the win with a slower time.
Moving now to the semi-finals of Pro Stock, and this should be a very, very close race. Joe Polito, the only Ford in the field, up against the current champion, Hans van Dyke from Melbourne.
Yes, indeed, Kevin, two of the heavy hitters in Australian Pro Stock racing, and here we see Joe Polito in the American-built Ford Probe up against the Australian-built Commodore of Hans van Dyke. A great match, and they would dearly love to beat one another.
Hans van Dyke here should be the favourite. Hans has qualified very, very well and is currently leading the point scores. But Joe Polito is always a surprise, and anything can happen.
Very popular drivers right across the nation. Engine revs build. Polito closest to your camera, Van Dyke in the Castrol lane on the other side of the racetrack. Staging duel here. Van Dyke, great start. Polito certainly had ordinary reaction time. You're going to find that Van Dyke will be almost impossible to run down from there, and Hans van Dyke will advance to the final against the winner of this pairing.
Yes, the next pairing from Queensland, Tony Wedlock in the Pontiac Trans Am, and he's up against South Australia's Jerry Parenti in a Camaro. Tony Wedlock, number 2 in Australia in Pro Stock in the 1992 year, has travelled all over Australia racing in Pro Stock Eliminator, and certainly one of the heavy hitters.
A nice guy too, Tony Wedlock, quite unassuming about his success in this sport, one of the very fine competitors. So Parenti and Wedlock, second semi-final Pro Stock sedan action, and you're watching it from Willowbank Raceway in Queensland. Away they go. Parenti got the front of the car well and truly up off the ground. Wedlock, too much class. He went past Parenti so quickly that Parenti almost caught the ammonia with the breeze.
An 8:26, 1:57 win. Wedlock would be very pleased to move against Hans van Dyke into the final. Pro Stock motorcycle now, and current Australian champion Les Donnan riding the Castrol Suzuki up against Gavin Spann from Queensland.
Les Donnan has been flying the Castrol colours at great heights over the past few months. Gavin Spann, plenty of experience. Good to see him back in the fold. Nicely turned out machine, and in fact all Pro Stock motorcycles competing at Willowbank this weekend are very high up in the presentation stakes. Donnan in the Castrol lane, rather aptly.
Yes, Les Donnan is well known for his reaction times. Gavin Spann really has had great performance levels. This is a brand new American bike, but one thing that Les Donnan is famous for, and that's his reaction times, and that's going to be Spann's biggest problem.
Green light, Les Donnan got a blistering start, got well and truly out of the lights. Great acceleration and reaction time, and as Les Donnan blasting away here, he'll transfer to the final in Pro Stock motorcycle.
Coming up now, the second semi-final, Dennis Ackland from Melbourne, and he's up against West Australia's Ray Eason. Eason, currently the quickest and fastest Pro Stock motorcycle in Australia, with an 8.000 time in Melbourne in February. Easton has suffered a little bit with gearbox damage to this motorcycle, but his performance levels have been right on.
Let's see how it works out. Easton and Ackland are side by side. You will find, though, Ray Easton has too much class. He's getting the job done now. An 8.246 at 151 miles per hour. Here he is now, Barnstall and Benny Gatt, one of the throttle stompers in Top Door Slammer Eliminator. So too is that man, Greg Thompson, who lights up the rear wheels.
Certainly semi-final of Top Door Slammer. This has been a great bracket this weekend. The best of Wild Bunch and Super Sedan racing in Australia, and the semi-finals puts two of the most popular sedan cars in Australia up against it. Queensland versus New South Wales. It's like a rebirth of the state of origin. Dial-in handicaps here for this racing eliminator. It's done on a normal Wild Bunch format, so either competitor has equal chance of winning.
A magnificent piece of equipment. Greg Thompson's car, right-hand side of your picture. Ben Gatt needs a big one here. Go for it, Benny. Green light on, handicap conditions. Look at Thompson down the outside, and Thompson just drives away. Unbelievable pass. A 7.640 at 143 miles per hour. And Kevin, we now move along to the all-important Top Fuel final. Jim Reed against Robin Kirby.
Yes, this will be a very, very interesting battle. Jim Reed has obviously led the performance levels all weekend. He's run a personal best. He's equalled the Australian record. But as we've learned in the past, that doesn't mean anything until it comes to the final. Robin Kirby once again into a final. Consistent performances. He's run 5 tonight. It has been very, very cold. The track is still in pretty good condition, but because it is so cold, someone like Jim Reed with so much horsepower runs the risk of overpowering the racetrack.
Yes, a very good point, as indeed was the point about Reed's consistency right throughout the weekend. It really is a case of the fact that he needs to be in front at the end of the final. As is the case in circuit racing, you've got to be in front at the end of the last lap. So Jim Reed now reversing back into the staging area. He'll have a heap of respect for Robin Kirby here.
Yes, on a night like tonight, the air is very, very cold, very, very dense. That means that car can make a lot of horsepower. They would have had to make sure that the clutch and engine combination is absolutely perfect on these runs. Otherwise, they really do run the risk of overpowering the track and, as we know, blowing the tyres off.
And a start in the Top Fuel finale is now imminent here at the Winternationals. Jim Reed closest to your camera, Robin Kirby on the other side of the racetrack. There they go. Nitro Flame standing up on Jim Reed's Winfield car. Look at him go, will you? The 10 times national champion. It's all over bar the shouting. A 5.585 second pass at 253 miles per hour. As we now advance to the final of Top Alcohol. Here, Alan Dobson from Western Australia, the brand new record holder, is set to take on the might of Steve Reed in the dragster.
Yes, the Dobson Gower car really has dominated this event. They ran a 6.01 in the first round, and of course that history-making 5.90 in the semi-finals. They really do have the horsepower this weekend. They've been able to handle the track conditions. It's very, very cold, but that's what makes the horsepower. Steve Reed from England in the dragster once again has battled with track conditions, but he's a very, very tough competitor, and Alan Dobson won't be taking him lightly.
A ton of experience, the two drivers here to contest the Top Alcohol final. Steve Reed has had a lot of problems this weekend and in previous events with tyre shake on that car, the dragster. It would seem now that everything has improved for him.
Yes, and of course Steve Reed was the first driver outside America to run a 5-second time when he ran that in England, and now he's up against the first in Australia, and that's Alan Dobson in the funny car. Steve Reed is well renowned for his reaction times, but Alan Dobson, I think they have the horsepower in this car, and I think they should be able to drive around the outside.
The funny cars seem to be producing just a little bit more horsepower this weekend. Very cool air here at Willowbank Raceway. In fact, it's that cool I'm looking for a fridge that's sitting to get warm. Alan Dobson, Castrol funny car, closest to your camera. Steve Reed, the Englishman, on the other side of the racetrack. Set for a start. Green lights. The Englishman, brilliant reaction time, got away like a gun. But again, Alan Dobson, all the horsepower in the world, butts the Castrol funny car home with a 5.979 second pass at 230 miles per hour. He's done it again.
Well, Alan, congratulations. It's been a hell of a weekend. First into the fives with a 5.90 in the semi-finals, and now a win with a 5.97.
Thanks very much. We're really happy for the Castrol family and our race team, Greg Gower, Craig Lasby, Phil Gardner and Bronte Howson. Absolutely great. It's a real team effort to do something like this. It takes a team. It's not an individual win by no means. To put this sort of power down, the track tonight was a little bit moist there, and yeah, we've done really well. We're really proud.
Well, that's 2 wins in a row for you, one at Eastern Creek. You move now into the final. You're pretty close to being able to catch up for the championship.
Yeah, we certainly are looking forward to that championship down there in Sydney, Eastern Creek, coming up in November. That's a big one, and we'll be full steam ahead for that.
Well, congratulations, a great win.
And thanks to all the other competitors and all our fans. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Steve, runner-up, it's been a hell of a race for you.
Yeah, I thought I had it there for a minute until I saw him had just come out the corner of my eye, and it's that was the best run we've had all weekend. I mean, it's the less shake and everything else, and so it was, you know, these guys deserved it. We tried our best, but there you go. It's one of them deals, and, you know, I'm really pleased for him that at least it's an Australian car that's run the first 5 in Australia. I mean, it'd been nice if we could have done it, but it's quite fitting that they've done it.
Well, you've been down here all year. What's your comments on the season of drag racing in Australia?
Tough. Real tough. I mean, it's been tougher than what it has in Europe. I think the hardest thing has been trying to learn the tracks, which are quite different to the ones in the States and different to the ones in Europe. And so it makes life, you know, but this year we've got all the records now. It stands us in good stead for next year, and we're gradually dialing this shake out the car, and now we'll have a winter. I'll go back for a month's holiday and see my wife for the first time in God knows how long, and we'll be back fit and ready for, well, I'll be back in a couple of months' time.
Well, congratulations on the year and the runner-up at the Winternationals.
Thanks very much.
Steve Reed, a man that's made a very substantial impact on national drag racing in the past 12 months. We now move from 4 wheels to 2 and the competition bike finale.
Yes, Daniel Cumming on the 2-stroke altered bike up against John Parker on the Harley-Davidson. The handicap start for the Suzuki. He's taken a good leave off the start line. John Parker obviously a problem, so Daniel Cumming will go through for the win with a 9.50 at 134.09.
We certainly did have a problem. Super gas final, and this should be a wild pairing. A couple of hot-looking cars, and the crowd have really been enjoying the super gas action right throughout the weekend. That's Andrew Roberts on screen, and he's up against Colin Lloyd.
Colin Lloyd, the current Australian champion in super gas. Both of these cars up from Victoria, which is the centre of Australia's super gas racing. 990 is the index of the red light, so the automatic win goes to Andrew Roberts.
Yes, indeed, bad luck for Lloyd. He'll be talking on himself about that one. We now move along, the action coming thick and fast. Getting quite late here at Willowbank, modified final, and again we see 2 very, very experienced campaigners meeting here.
Yes, Bob Millett from Townsville, one of the most experienced modified racers in Australia, just indicating to his crewman to make sure that the handicap is right. He's up against John Sting in the dragster. Handicap start to Millett in the altered. Millett's going to have to run really hard, but I think Sting will cruise across the top end with a breakout win to John Sting, 8.49, and the lose to Bob Millett. Superstock final now. Peter Zammit from Victoria up against Gary Tanner from South Australia. Tanner running B modified production in the GTR Supplies Tirana, and up against one of the most sensational race cars in Australia, the Zammit Brothers Double C Gas.
Yes, indeed, Sammit's car on the cutting edge of technology. Twin-turbo Nissan 300ZX, sponsored by Genuine Parts and Aerocrip, and here he comes. He blasts past Gary Tanner, and Zammit rockets away with a 901. Yes, Superman Zammit, very successful in this sport of drag racing. Tony Wedlock now will do battle against Hans Van Dyke in the final of Pro Stock Sedan. And I wouldn't like to try and find a winner here, Kevin.
No, this is the best pairing. Number 1 and number 2 in Australia. Pro Stock Eliminator this weekend has been simply sensational, and I expect this race to be exactly the same.
You'll find there's absolutely nothing in it, so it's Van Dyke in the Castrol lane in the Holden Commodore. He got a pretty good start. Van Dyke's in front. Here comes Wedlock, but Van Dyke should just hold on. Yes, indeed, that's the way it works out. A great performance. 8.187.
Well, Hans, who's a happy boy?
Hands? Who else? In amongst the smoke?
Hans, an 8.18 in the final.
Excellent, excellent. I stiffened the shockers up a bit. Thought probably could have chucked more at it, but I wasn't game.
You seem to drive away from Tony right at the top end.
Well, he might have clicked it off. You know, he usually runs more speed than I do, because I don't like sort of the bumps at the finish line, so I shut it off early, but I didn't that time, I don't think.
Well, congratulations, a great win. That moves you right up the ladder now.
Yeah, it's a good break. Excellent. I'm a happy man.
Oh, mate, sorry. I got to be close to you.
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't see you.
Oh, it's pretty close, yeah. Oh, congratulations, buddy.
Well, Tony, winner last time, runner-up this time.
Yes, it was pretty good. I think the cold track hurt us a little bit. We were turning the tyres pretty bad, and I decided that discretion was the better part of valor once it got a little bit loose in fourth gear, so we shut it off.
Well, you must be really happy with the whole bracket this weekend.
No, it's fantastic. You know, the bracket's brilliant. I'm proud to be part of it, and Hans has done well to win this weekend.
Congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Tony Wedlock and Hans van Dyke, two thoroughly professional campaigners. Talking about professionals, we have that here in the pairing for the final of Pro Stock Motorcycle. Ray Eason.
Donnan, current Australian champion, all the way from South Australia, and further west, Ray Eason from Perth. Eason has the horsepower, but Donnan's reaction times are legendary.
Yes, Donnan certainly the prince of reaction times. On this occasion, though, Ray Eason has left him standing, and Donnan is going to need to pull something very special out of the hat. He can't do it. Eason storms to victory, an 8-0-8-2.
Well, Raymond, the winner.
Yes, thank you.
You pretty well struggled all weekend, but as you said earlier, you were going to really look after it at the final.
Well, I gave it curry, I can tell you that much.
The track, despite the cold conditions, not too much of a problem for you in the end?
No, if I stay out of the right lane and run the left lane, I've got control of the situation.
Okay, well that really moves you up the point score ladder now.
I was 500 behind. That should knock 200 off it, so I'm now 300 behind Les Donnan.
Well, Les Donnan, runner-up for the Winternationals. It's been a pretty competitive race for you all.
Yes, it certainly has. We started by